Welcome to Lipstick Attitude, hosted by Dr. Elizabeth King, psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, author, and motivational speaker, specializing in trauma and women's mental health, and Yvonne Haase, psychotherapist and coach specializing in relationships, couples, and women's issues. This show is your dose of inspiration, information, and laughter. In each episode, Dr. King and Yvonne bring you hacks, tips, and inspiring stories to help you live a successful life. So ladies, grab your lipstick. It's time to do this. The Lipstick Attitude podcast is powered by Stilettos and Lipstick Foundation, a nonprofit movement to empower women and children from all walks of life to be resilient, self-confident, and purposeful leaders through education, mentorship, and community outreach. To learn more, visit sslwomen.org. Please note that this show is intended to empower and educate. It is not meant to be utilized as a substitute for individual therapy.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How is everyone this morning?
Fabulous.
Doing great.
Awesome. Welcome to the Lipstick Attitude. My name is Dr. Elizabeth King, and my co-host is Yvonne Haase. And today we have a very special guest, Scott Brook, and we're going to be drilling down on 5 hot tips to protect your assets. So super excited. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. It's great to be with you both. Good morning.
Good morning. I am always excited to have Scott on our shows. You probably have even seen him on our Lipstick Attitude on Facebook Live. Of course, he's been involved with the Lipstick Foundation and the Stilettos and Lipstick Foundation, both because you know of both names. For quite some time, and we always enjoy having you with us.
My pleasure. You guys are great.
Thanks.
And fiery. I like the fiery aspect of you both.
I know.
Oh, that's
some recognition. I love it.
It takes one to know one. That's why.
Exactly.
I love it. Yvonne, you want to go ahead and do a formal introduction?
Absolutely. So Scott reopened his family law practice in Coral Springs in December of 2019 and moonlights as the proud mayor of Coral Springs. However, his favorite role is being a father of 5. God love you, my friend.
Yes.
Scott, by the way, everyone was also brave enough to volunteer, or perhaps he was voluntold, not quite sure. Voluntold's probably like it, to be one of the panelists in Stilettos and Lipsticks Foundation famous panel, Men in the Hot Seat. So welcome, Scott.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I did bring my armor with me for that, and you guys disarmed me and totally.
I love it.
That was so much fun. I wish we had that one recorded.
That was fun.
That was fun. Yvonne was the moderator, and she really nailed all of you. Well, you were on that seat, but you guys all recovered very well.
They were such good sports. We only bring gentlemen on the panel who can first of all hack it. Second of all, we know we'll be open and honest, and third, we know we'll recover in the shortest amount possible.
No
and
trauma.
I enjoyed the gentlemen I met on the program too. They were great.
They were
That's
great
awesome.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to kick it off with a couple of questions here for you, Scott. So first, you're an attorney and the mayor of Coral Springs. I mean, what made you decide to run for mayor? Being an attorney didn't keep you busy enough?
So this last time when I ran, it was in December of 2018. Unfortunately, we had lost our mayor, Skip Campbell. He passed away prematurely. So because I had served as mayor before and as a commissioner, and I love my city, I thought it would be important for me and the community to have me step in. So I ran against 3 other individuals in a special election that occurred in March of 2019. My wife wanted me out of the house anyhow, so I got out of the house, and I was fortunate enough to be elected mayor again. And then recently I was reelected without opposition.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
So this is all Brenda's fault, I see.
Blame it on Brenda.
Blame it on Brenda. I love
No,
Brenda.
it's a labor of love for me being the mayor of such a great city.
Well, you're an awesome mayor, and I have to say that I follow you on social media, and what you do for the community to inspire and just empower everyone is just it's just phenomenal, and I just appreciate you so much. I hope that someday you give classes to a lot of the local politicians and national politicians. They all need to learn from you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
agreed.
Truly.
So I follow you as well on social media, and I love all your positive messages that are, I mean, every one of your posts. So were there any changes that you, as mayor, that you were hoping to make within your community?
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of my primary roles has been to help our community heal as a result of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas tragedy. And then really since March of this year, since COVID has interrupted our lives. And it's been a very important role, or two important roles. And thankfully, I work with a great team, a lot of great people. And God has put me in a good place with a lot of wherewithal, a lot of positivity, as you mentioned. I've experienced, tragic loss in my life, having lost my mom to suicide years ago. And I'm here for many of the families that have lost a loved one, both in the tragedy and subsequently as a result of the tragedy. And it's a labor of love. And, sometimes my heart is heavy, but that's okay. And I just give whatever I can, share a lot of love, and these days, some virtual hugs.
Yeah, lots of those, lots of those. You also created an organization for mental health. You want to just share
Sure,
a little
I'd
bit
love
about
to.
that?
Yeah, my ultimate motivation was Calvin Desir, who died by suicide in March of 2018,
Mhm.
tragically. And I decided to start an alliance. And with some other leaders in the community, we started the Mental Wellness Networking Alliance. And we can be found on Facebook. We have a website, which is getmentalwellness.com. We're still in the formative stages, so if anybody's interested in joining us, they can call me or text me directly at 954-494-9872. We meet by Zoom these days the first Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. And our vision is to live in a world where mental wellness is equally as vital as physical wellness. And we are here to break the stigma that's often associated with mental illness. Everybody wants mental wellness. Too few people talk about mental illness. And we gather professionals like yourselves, adult students, in this great dialogue where we provide solutions, we provide education, we provide support for one another. And it's been incredible. We used to have live meetings at a realtor's office, thanks to Scott Bagoon here locally, Keller Williams. Now it's by Zoom, and these Zoom podcasts are led by Kerry Russo and Jeff McLaughlin up in Orlando. I'm the president. We are a not-for-profit, and we're in the midst of forming our 501c3. And it's just been a great way to connect, especially virtually during these times. We have people that are in many different states that have attended our meetings, and it's a safe, wonderful place for people to connect, learn, share, and really find resources. Usually we have anywhere from 3 to 8 mental health professionals on the call.
Yeah, I've been privileged to be involved in this whole movement that you've created, Scott, and kudos to you for, stepping up to the plate and answering the call of so many. And of course,
Thank
Yvonne
you.
and I are both mental health professionals, and so this is near and dear to our heart, changing the stigma and letting people know that it's okay not to be okay. And especially during these times of social distancing, we're putting out the word that social distancing does not mean social disconnecting.
Hmm.
So the fact that you're running the meetings on Zoom and providing that platform for the community is just paramount. And I so appreciate the work that you and your team are doing. And I hope to be back to supporting it. I support it from afar, but as I shared with you offline, my practice and well, both of our practices is absolutely bursting at the seam because people really need it. And because I think we're doing such a great job at promoting and letting people know that it's okay to ask for help. We're seeing the results. So thank you for that. I want to talk about your topic. I could spend all day talking to you because there's so much that you cover. But I do want to really talk about this topic because this was something that personally I had to go through. Honestly, it's a daunting task when you don't even know where to begin. So the fact that you wanted to talk about estate planning and wills and how to really prepare yourself to protect your assets, I think for me, on a personal note, it's so important. And I know there are women out there that really are going to benefit. I looked on your website and I saw that you have a couple of specialties. Can you just share with our listeners what you do?
Sure. Our primary focus areas are helping families, both that are going through divorce, post-divorce, maybe they need to modify time sharing or child custody. Used to be called child custody, now it's time sharing. We do estate planning and probate. We also do appeals. I have a team of 10 other individuals with me here in Coral Springs, and lots of connections throughout the state. And actually now with Zoom, my practice is as far north as you can get and as far south as you can get. So we're from Key West to Pensacola these days.
Oh, wow.
And everything's by Zoom. The hearings are by Zoom. And it's been an interesting pivot for our firm. And we've actually grown through COVID. But those are my focus areas for my practice.
Awesome. Yvonne, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, I'm sorry. There was like a buzzing sound that I threw me off. Okay. And I was lost in listening. My apologies. Because I was thinking, God, that means that you are a very, very busy individual. And, one of the big questions that we get from men and women alike is, how do we balance this all? So for you, Scott, how do you balance your practice with your role as mayor and then your commitment to your family? Because being a dad of 5, that's a juggling act right there.
So a few things. One is I happen to be doing what I love. So loving what you do is a big thing on having balance. And for me, I love being a mayor. I love being a dad. I love being a grandfather. I've got 3 grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
And I love practicing law. So for me, none of my work is ever a chore. So I have a lot of energy. I balance my time by planning my day every day. These days, I write down a top 30 that I like to accomplish every day, and I hold myself accountable throughout the day. I'm also very free in saying no politely, kindly, respectfully, but I'm very clear with saying no. So I have a saying: subtract before you add.
I
So
love
if you are
that.
a busy professional like I am, before I place something else on top, I take a look, okay, what will I take away so I have time for something new? So recently I decided to coach my grandson again in soccer. And one of the things that I took away from, before I said yes to coaching my grandson in soccer again was a little bit of TV time, that I would be spending. And now I spend less time watching TV and I fill it with coaching my grandson's soccer team.
I love that. That's a great lesson for all of us, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to need to start practicing that myself.
I love that. I love it.
And I do have one other expression, and it helps me a great deal. I spend no more than, I'd say, 15 minutes a week worrying. So what I do and what I share with people is turn your worries into concerns, and then you can take actions, you can take measures. And if there's nothing you can do, then give it to God. Don't worry about it, because the worries will just take away your time, take away your energy, take away your strength. And you're needed. You are needed. And so worrying doesn't help you.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
worrying
that.
is absolutely exhausting and
It
time
is.
consuming.
It really is.
Yes. So we also get a lot of questions, and Dr. King and I were discussing offline too, because we weren't really sure of the differences for this next question. And we understand it, it's a very big topic. So maybe we could just break it down to something pretty simple.
Sure.
But what is the difference between an estate plan, a will, and a trust?
So an estate plan can include a will and a trust. It can include a will and not a trust. Every now and then might include a trust without a will, not likely.
Mm,
So an estate plan that's really full not only includes work from an estate planning attorney typically, but will also include work and advice from a financial advisor, could be a certified financial professional. So when
mm,
you're really planning your estate and contemplating how you want to protect your assets, both during your life and post-life, to have an estate plan is very helpful. And one of the things too that a lot of people don't realize is once your child is 18, they are now emancipated and they might need some estate plan of their own, which might also include a power of attorney, which can be part of an estate plan as a typical part of an estate plan and allow somebody the rights to assist somebody else in certain matters, depending upon kind of what you check off on the checklist. So every now and then, a student who's in college might give their parent a power of attorney over certain decision making, especially if they became incapacitated. So a lot of people don't necessarily contemplate death or incapacitation, and
mm.
yet, death is a likelihood, incapacitation a possibility. So to plan and prepare for both can be very, very helpful. And of course, most people don't want to deal with those concepts. Um, but if you deal with them, you can face them straight on and find solutions that can really help you and your family for years to come.
It's so important. As I said at the earlier part of the interview, this was something that I had to deal with after my husband passed away. Unfortunately, we had not finished completing our estate plan, and that was a mess. We were
Mhm.
so close. We had talked about it for years upon years that we needed to do it.
Mm,
And when he was diagnosed, we started the process, but it was a very uncomfortable process because now he was sick and now I didn't want him to think that I was giving up and that's why I needed to hurry up and get this done,
mm,
even though we had talked about it for 25 years and never got it done. So like I said, this is near and dear to my heart in that, I was confronted with a very difficult situation. So I guess my next question leads to this. Does every adult need to have an estate plan in place? And also, does everybody need to have a will and a trust in place?
so as to the trust, everybody definitely does not need to have a trust in place.
Mm.
But should every adult have an estate plan? I believe so. Should every adult have a will? I believe so. At the least, you want to indicate who you want to receive what upon your passing. Number one. Number two, if you're married, there's something called an elective estate, which I can explain a lot more in a personal consultation. But essentially, you're married, your spouse is entitled to 30% of your estate. Now, but what if you're married and going through a divorce? And
Mm.
what do you do with your will at that point? So there are a lot of questions that can be asked by any professional that has a focus in estate planning, whether it be me or any other estate planner. And it's where you live. So if you're living in Florida, do you want to have an estate plan in Florida? If you establish a will in New York 10 years ago, you'd probably want to update your will here in Florida if you're living here now. And
That's,
I
go
happened
ahead.
to listen to some of Anthony Robbins over the weekend, and he had a great person that came and spoke. The founder of Spanx, I forget her name, but
Mhm.
she's a
Mm-hmm,
very amazing
mm-hmm,
woman.
mm-hmm,
And in one part of her conversation, she talked about essentially embracing death to really live more. and death is kind of like the ultimate deadline. And, while we may not want to deal with death per se, I think the more we can say, yeah, okay, death is and will be a part of life, it'll become a lot easier to make that estate plan, to go into the office of an attorney and talk about some difficult things. Because the cost of not doing so, recently I had a client come to me and she wanted to help her mom change her power of attorney, but her mom was at end stages, and then all of a sudden her mom was no longer having the capacity to change the power of attorney. So if you don't have the capacity, you can't change the power of attorney. So people, I think, sometimes wait too long, or don't ever get it done, and it can be not just costly financially but also emotionally. So I'd urge you, whether you're 22, 42, 62, 82, make sure you have an estate plan, which includes what you do and who makes decisions for you, including medical care if you are incapacitated to do so.
How often do you recommend that people have their will updated? Do they expire? Do you need to update?
Yeah, I mean, you can say as a general rule 7 years, but you really want to take a look at your will anytime somebody new enters or somebody old leaves the picture. So what does that mean? You have your third and fourth grandchild. Does your will potentially provide for them? Now that you have more additions to your family, you have your will, and your first personal representative happens to be your uncle, but now your uncle has passed away. So when you look at your will now, yes, you probably have a substitute personal representative, but do you want now to have another backup, or do you prefer somebody else to be your personal representative now? So generally, when there's a change in your family that's significant, and or you have a loss to your family of somebody that is in your will, what do you want to do? So one of the things that's typical as for parents that have, let's say, 3 children, is to divide up the estate by those 3. And God forbid one of those children predeceases them, then that person's share will typically go to their children. But in order to make sure that happens, that's how you have to provide for it in the will. So without providing for a will to handle your estate, what happens is your estate now goes through probate, and it can be very costly, very lengthy, and again, not just costly financially, but costly emotionally because of the infighting between your family members.
Yeah, and most people think that that won't happen to them because everybody gets along really well. But after someone passes away, things get a little bit funky. And why put yourself in that place, is the way I see it. You talked about something that was really important, and I was taking note of that. You said about the will. So how do you avoid probate? Is it just having the will, or do you also have to have a trust to avoid probate? That's what I'm
No,
about.
so trust can help you prevent probate, but it's how you title your assets. So let's say the only assets you have are a car, a home, and a bank account. And that car is jointly titled for you and your son. The bank account is payable on death to your daughter. And your home you have by a life estate, and then it goes to your daughter and your son post, you know, post life. Uh, those are your only 3 assets. You can avoid probate, in my opinion, with that. So again, I didn't give this preface before, so I'm sharing some, general things that is in my experience and my knowledge, but to really find out for sure how estate planning will affect you and your family, for those that are listening and watching, you should definitely have a consult with an estate planning attorney.
Okay. So I know that you kind of alluded to this one a little before, but what if you have an ill parent who can barely make decisions for themselves? What can you do?
Yeah, so if they can barely make decisions for themselves, but they are capacitated enough, they are not incapacitated then you can potentially ask your mom, your dad, whether you can hold power of attorney if they have never established a durable power of attorney. So many adults now here in Florida at least have a power of attorney that allows another person, usually a relative, to make decisions for them. Could be financial, could be writing out checks, could be medical decisions if they're incapacitated. Um, and you want to, another reason sometimes for a trust, you mentioned that before, is to also avoid guardianship. And that's a whole other area of law that I couldn't cover, in the short time that we have. And again, if you're, contemplating the need because you have an incapacitated child and or, somebody in your family that's incapacitated, but there's no provisions for them, then you want to see an estate planning attorney to see if you can make some.
Well, this is a very, very large topic, I can tell, and I see that there's a need for everyone to be calling you or someone that they need to really talk about their needs, because you can't, it's too general what we're talking about. But I think the message that I hear you say, Scott, is everybody needs to be thinking and doing something about this, right?
For sure, for sure. And you don't want to put it off because you just never know what can happen, all of a sudden. You just don't know. All of a sudden, I met this man at LA Fitness yesterday, and he had something very tragic happen to him on his way to see his parents that were estranged after 5 years. He wound up being in a very horrible motor vehicle accident. So he was incapacitated for a while. And there was nothing that anyone can do to take over his decision making because he didn't make any provisions for it at the time. And so you want to be able to make provisions for yourself, for your family, in case something tragic happens.
Thank you so much. I hope that everyone that's listening to this program is right now ready to make this big move, because everybody really needs. I think it gives you peace of mind. I know that once I got mine done, unfortunately, after my husband passed away, I just felt peace of mind. Like now, even when I fly, I feel differently. Like I know my daughter's going to be taken care of. I know my grandchildren are going to be taken care of. And I always had that fear when we, took trips, like what if something happens? I don't have that in place. So I think it's so important.
And so while I don't do this, I recommend different professionals that do. So I have life insurance, I have disability insurance, and I have long-term care insurance. So those insurance packages that I purchased, they're all part of my estate plan.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, exactly. So as we wind down on our interview, this is a question that we love to ask our guests. And I love to hear your answer because you're doing so much. What do you hope your legacy will be, Scott?
So, generally speaking, I'd like to leave a legacy of love, kindness, and of public service. I'd like to help us redefine what, public service looks like. This year, I'm actually publishing 2 books. One is on balance, the other is on flow. And I hope that my books that I'll be writing this year and in the future will be part of my legacy for the lessons and love that I'll leave behind. But probably my greatest legacies will be my 5 children.
Oh, I love it. What a beautiful answer. Beautiful answer.
I love that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I'm thinking that everybody needs to subtract something off their to-do list today and put establishing their will and their estate plan on their to-do list. I just think that it would bring for everybody's mental health a little bit of peace and clarity for sure.
For sure. It does. And it will.
Absolutely. So we know you have a giveaway, and I will, of course, post this information in our show notes. But what is your giveaway?
So the giveaway, and I'm actually going to make it greater than I had planned, is that you'll get half off the consult. Actually, we'll make it $150 off the $275 consult. If you call Amanda at our office at 954-757-5551, mention this broadcast and ask for Amanda and say 5-star. And you'll get $150 off the consult, of which is usually $275.
What's that 5-star? I'm curious. I just have to ask.
So 5-star means get on it. That's what we're doing today.
Oh, wow.
So if I give my staff a 5-star, we're getting it done today, no matter what. So when you all call and tell Amanda 5-star, she's dropping everything to schedule that consult.
I'm gonna start doing that with my kids. Hey, 5-star the dog walk right now.
Can I do that with my boyfriend too?
There you go.
Yes,
there you go.
yes,
it works
can.
here. It works here.
I love it. I love it.
I love that. Okay. And how can we get in touch with you? How can they find you? How can they connect with you?
The best way to make an appointment is by calling the office at 954-757-5551. Our website is scottjbrookpa.com. We also have another website which leads you to our website, which is digitaldivorceattorney.com. And people can call me literally directly on my cell phone. It's 954-494-9872. And I'd be happy to help anyone any which way I can, whether it's regarding law. If I'm your mayor here in Coral Springs, I'd love to help you. And of course, if you know of anybody that suffers from mental illness, including yourselves, become part of our Mental Wellness Networking Alliance. You'll find a home, you'll find your voice, and you'll find solutions.
Who gives their personal cell phones out, people? I mean, that's amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. Don't abuse it, though. Don't abuse it, people. Don't abuse it. All right, we're at the end of our show, and here we go. We have to get our lipstick. You know, we've done this with you before, Scott.
You have. So you have the video from the last time.
Yeah, we have the video. we made him. Well, actually, we didn't make him. He actually did it on his own. He put on some lipstick. Well, he had a lipstick stick. I don't think he actually put it on. But here we go, ladies. Let's put on our lipstick. This is our war paint.
I love it.
This is what reminds us that we have the resiliency, the courage, and the persistency to continue on our journey in life, to do the great things that we were put on this earth to do. No matter what, ladies, put on your lipstick attitude and go out there and face the world. You can do it no matter what. Thank you so much, Scott. It was awesome to have you on our show.
My pleasure.
And look forward to continue working with you and supporting everything wonderful that you're doing in this community. Thank you so much, everyone. Make sure to call Scott and get that estate planning going. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.